Imagine for a moment that you are walking up to your own front door, but instead of turning the handle to go outside and leave your home, you open it to step into just another room.
A room with a pretty major twist, though.
Right. Because in this room, the ceiling is just the open expanse of the sky. The walls are actually breathing with this lush, trailing greenery. And, every single surface around you practically begs to be touched.
Such a vivid image.
Yeah, you take that first deep breath, and it's warm air laced with the sharp scent of sun-baked wood and, distant blooms. Suddenly, that hard, rigid boundary that you normally draw between inside and outside, it simply vanishes.
It's a really powerful visual to start with.
Yeah.
And, it's an image that completely upends how you probably interact with your living spaces on a daily basis.
Oh, totally.
Think about it. You are likely conditioned to view the outdoors as a destination, like a place you have to actively escape to when life gets a bit too heavy.
Right, the classic weekend getaway. You pack a bag, you load up the car, you sit through 2 hours of gridlock traffic just to get a brief, fleeting sliver of nature.
Exactly. It's treated like an event. But today, we're pulling apart some fascinating excerpts from a piece called The Architecture of Open Air Refinement.
Which is just a brilliant source.
It really is. And the mission of our deep dive today is to completely deconstruct how the absolute finest outdoor living spaces manage to dissolve that boundary between architecture and nature.
Yeah, we're going to look at the underlying mechanics they use to prove this genuinely compelling point, which is that true luxury isn't about ostentation.
Right, no.
It's not about a massive price tag or showing off to your neighbors. True luxury is about designing a space that grants you the permission to pause. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, to really grasp the gravity of this architectural shift, we need to examine the psychological baseline of modern life. You probably treat your outdoor spaces as an afterthought.
Yeah, like a concrete slab tacked onto the back of the house.
Or maybe just a patch of grass you have to mow every Sunday.
Exactly. A chore.
Right. But the paradigm shift we are looking at today argues that an outdoor space should be a seamless, restorative extension of your daily life, because the modern world constantly demands your attention.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are pulled in a million different directions by glowing screens, notifications, invisible stressors.
Yes, and the architectural philosophy of open-air refinement is designed specifically on a biological level to ground your nervous system back in the physical world.
Which brings us to the physical foundation of that grounding. Because before we look at the expansive sky or the furniture, we have to look at what is quite literally underfoot.
The foundation.
Yeah, the tactile foundation. The philosophy here relies intensely on tactile contrasts, completely rejecting the cold, uniform surfaces we are so used to indoors.
The contrast is everything. Think about the physical juxtaposition of, say, rough-hewn stone placed directly against smooth, wide planks of weathered timber.
I can almost feel that just thinking about it.
Right. You have the jagged, organic irregularity of the stone crashing into the worn, linear grain of the wood. And this isn't just an aesthetic choice.
No, it creates a physical depth that your eye, and more importantly, your bare feet, immediately register.
Exactly.
There's also this fascinating use of polished concrete in the source. I usually think of concrete as this harsh industrial parking garage material.
Sure, most people do.
But when it's polished and placed in this context, it catches the ambient light like quiet water, and it's paired with these massive veined slabs of natural stone that echo the deep geologic patterns of the earth.
What's fascinating here is the underlying physics of those materials. We're talking about thermal mass.
Thermal mass, okay.
Yeah, concrete, stone, heavy timber. They are dense materials that absorb, store, and release heat. These aren't pristine, synthetic indoor surfaces like laminate or drywall that remain completely inert.
Right, they don't just sit there.
No, they age, they weather, they warm up deeply in the direct afternoon sunlight, holding onto that thermal energy, and then they cool down sharply in the shade.
It makes me think about investing in a really high-quality leather jacket. Or like a pair of raw denim jeans.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Well, when you first buy them, they're stiff, they're almost awkwardly perfect. But the whole point of buying raw denim is that it isn't meant to stay pristine.
Right, the breaking in process.
Exactly. The true value comes from how it weathers, ages, and physically adapts to your body and the elements over time. The crease is set in exactly where your elbows bend. That wear and tear isn't damage, it's character.
It really is. And let's push that analogy further into the realm of environmental psychology. There's a Japanese concept called wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi, yeah.
It centers on finding profound beauty in imperfection and impermanence. in an era where you are constantly interacting with mass-produced synthetic uniformity.
Like the perfectly flat glass of a smartphone.
Yes, or the flawless, unchanging paint on a drywall. Your brain actually becomes desensitized to it all. You stop noticing your environment because it gives you no new sensory information to process.
I see where you're going with that, but I have to play devil's advocate for a second.
Go for it.
I hear you on the beauty of aging materials, but isn't there a fine line between a tactile memory and a patio that just looks messy and unmaintained? Like, if the timber is weathering and the stone is shifting, how does the architect keep this from looking like an abandoned ruin?
That's a great question. It comes down to intentionality versus neglect. The materials are curated specifically because of how they handle the elements.
Okay.
When you step barefoot onto a veined stone that has been soaking up the sun all afternoon, the sudden transfer of heat to your skin forces your brain to process that warmth.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it physically pulls your consciousness out of your looping thoughts and drops you squarely back into your body. It demands your attention, but it does so gently through biological sensory input.
Rather than a demanding digital ping on your phone.
Precisely.
It really grounds you. But here's the logical next step. All of those rich, dense materials with their incredible thermal mass, the stone, the timber, the concrete, they're entirely useless on their own. It's true.
They are completely dormant until they are activated by the kinetic energy of the space's most vital element, the true architect of the room, natural light.
Absolutely. We are moving from the static materials on the ground to the dynamic engine that drives the entire experience, which is the sun.
Yeah.
To actually pull the outdoors inside, architecture has to completely surrender its rigid control over light.
And the execution of this in the source material is stunning. We're talking about massive, unhindered access to the sky, floor-to-ceiling openings.
Lighting wooden panels.
Yes. Panels that vanish seamlessly into the walls, and its expansive folding glass doors that you can just push entirely out of the way.
Because the goal isn't just to add a big window, it's to let daylight pour in completely uninterrupted.
Right, because when the physical barrier of the glass is gone, the filter is gone. You are exposed to the actual shifting color temperature of the sun.
And that light isn't a single flat wash like a fluorescent bulb. It moves from a crisp, high-contrast blue and gold in the morning, which, by the way, naturally spikes your cortisol to wake you up. Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and then it shifts to an incredibly soft, diffused amber in the late afternoon, which signals your brain to begin producing melatonin.
Which fundamentally pushes against how we normally live. I mean, think about it. You probably spend a huge amount of time obsessing over artificial lighting indoors.
Oh, everyone does.
You buy smart bulbs, you set up ring lights for video calls, you try to create this perfect, unwavering brightness in your home office. So I have to ask, are we actively harming ourselves by not designing our indoor lives around the natural, shifting rhythm of the sun?
Biologically speaking, yes. When you live in a statically lit environment, you are fighting millions of years of human evolution.
Wow, millions of years.
Yeah, your circadian rhythm relies on the gradual shift of natural light to regulate your hormones, your sleep cycle, and your mood. When an architectural space embraces the unpredictable play of light and shadow, it turns a simple seating area into a living composition.
It's like the difference between staring at a photograph and watching a movie. As the sun moves, the shadows lengthen. The light dances across that rough-hewn stone we talked about earlier, softening the hard architectural edges and really drawing your eye outward toward layers of foliage.
Right, the tall, swaying palms, broad, unfurling leaves, vines creeping along overhead beams.
They're so dynamic.
And there is a biomechanical reason why looking at those vines and palms feels so good. It's a concept called fractal fluency.
Fractal fluency. Okay, what is that?
Well, in nature, shapes are complex and asymmetrical, but they repeat in predictable mathematical patterns, fractals. Think of the branches of a tree or the veins of a leaf.
Right.
The human visual cortex evolved to process these fractal patterns effortlessly. Conversely, processing the rigid symmetrical grid of a modern city skyline or a blank flat wall actually requires more cognitive load.
Wait, really? A flat wall is harder for the brain to process?
Yes. So when the architecture draws your eye to the swaying foliage, it is literally reducing the processing strain on your brain.
Okay, that is fascinating. The visual complexity of nature is actually easier for the brain to digest. So the sunlight and the foliage are actively lowering our cognitive load.
Exactly.
But, light and thermal mass don't make a room you can actually live in. Once the light and the architecture have set the stage, You need to comfortably inhabit the space.
Right, you need somewhere to sit.
Yeah, you need functional anchors, furniture, and objects. But the rule here in the source is that these items absolutely cannot overwhelm the experience.
Intentional anchors is the perfect way to frame it. If the goal of the space is restoration, every single object you place within it has to heavily justify its presence. It must be deliberate.
We have this brilliant example from the text of a deep, low-slung sectional sofa. It's wrapped in sun-bleached sand performance fabric. And let's clarify that real quick for anyone who hasn't shopped for outdoor furniture recently. When we say performance fabrics, we aren't talking about that stiff, sticky, cheap plastic canvas from like a 1990s patio set.
Definitely not.
These are advanced engineered textiles. They are deeply woven to withstand UV rays, mold, heavy rain, but they feel as soft and luxurious as indoor linen.
They completely blur the boundary. The material can survive a thunderstorm, but it invites you to sink in bare-legged. And draped over the arm of that sectional is a casual cashmere throw, just waiting for the ambient temperature to drop in the evening.
Right next to that sofa, there is a generously proportioned teak table, but the defining characteristic of this table isn't its price tag or its polish. It is defined by the faint rings left behind from years of careful oiling.
That's a beautiful detail.
I have to admit, though, when I first read about the rings on the table, it triggered my indoor anxieties.
Yeah.
Normally, if someone leaves a ring on a beautiful wood table indoors, it's a disaster.
I'll go a little panic.
Yeah, you scramble for a coaster, it looks like you ruined it.
But context changes the meaning of the wear. Indoors, a water ring on a varnished table is a mark of neglect, a failure to protect a static object. Outdoors, though, on raw teak, a faint ring of oil is a record of care. It's evidence of human interaction over time. The table has been oiled, used, and loved.
That makes a lot of sense. And resting on that table are just a few highly curated objects. A hand-thrown ceramic vessel holding fresh cuttings from the surrounding greenery, a few smooth river stones that someone collected on a long walk, and a low, heavy brass lantern waiting for dusk. Looking at that, it sounds less like decorating a patio and more like curating a personal museum of tactile memories.
It really does.
It is the absolute antithesis of clutter. You aren't just filling empty corners with generic decor from a big box store.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it fundamentally changes how you should view the objects in your home. The focus here is intensely on the sensory interactions these items invite.
It's about how you engage with them.
Right. It isn't merely about the visual aesthetic of the river stone sitting on the wood. It's about the cool, dense weight of that stone when you absentmindedly pick it up and roll it in your palm while having a conversation.
Yeah, or the faint metallic chime of the brass lantern when a sudden gust of wind moves through it.
They aren't decorations, they are tools.
Exactly. They are tactile tools deployed by the architect to heighten your sensory awareness. They give your hands something heavy to hold, your eyes a fractal pattern to rest on, and your ears a subtle sound to catch.
Which perfectly sets up the final invisible layer of this entire design philosophy.